Hey, how's it going, guys? So, I just thought I'd come on here and share a couple things now that I'm not really updating anymore about um, being on Lexapro, in the sense of like side effects. Um, I thought it'd be, helpful to just come on every now and then and talk about some things that I'm learning from my psychologist that is really helpful to me. So, today I wanted to talk about compulsion, addiction, and Lexapro, and specifically how that has played out for me, because I'm learning so much. Because I have been learning so much in the last 3 months alone. Mind you, I've only been on Lexapro for 2 months now, I think, or 6 weeks. I don't know. I'm not really keeping track too much, but there's just been so much I've learned through therapy, that my psychologist has kind of helped me open my eyes, and much of it is just really labeling a lot of what my life has been about over the years. Yeah, so making sense of just why I've done the things I've done. So I'm not going to really talk about like what I've been addicted to or a lot of the mess that I've gotten myself into, but I don't know, maybe this will relate to you or help you. So I want to preface all this by saying I'm not a therapist, not a psychologist, can't read minds, can't, I'm offering my experience, and if you relate to that, cool. I totally recommend you see a therapist for further help in that. So one thing that I've learned recently was the difference between compulsion, addiction, and how Lexapro has kind of helped me to overcome those things, or work through those things, identify those things, and respond or change my life accordingly, like in a way that benefits me. So my therapist says something along the lines of like, addiction is when like you can't function in your life without said thing. So if you're addicted to, this is a really easy example, but if you're addicted to cocaine, and he used a specific example of like a camping trip. It's like if you're addicted to cocaine, you're not going to be like, if you go to a camping trip and there's no cocaine, there's going to be a lot of anxiety in you, and you're going to be very anxious because there's no cocaine. So you can't enjoy that 3-day weekend trip, camping trip, because you're addicted to cocaine. But if you suffer from compulsion, now I don't know if this is obsessive compulsive disorder. I was not diagnosed with OCD. I don't know. I mean, maybe I could have OCD, but that's just not something we talked about. I was diagnosed with different things. So that's besides the point. Compulsion is your mind's response to anxious situations by acting out of compulsion, right? Like out of necessity to like satiate that anxiety. So that is pretty much like what I struggle with. I don't know. The only reason why I don't think addiction is me, even though much of the last, you could label things in my life as addiction, right? Like we have a definition for addiction. If you do something 1, 2, 3 times a day for years, doesn't that seem by definition to be an addiction? Maybe it is. But the point that my therapist was making to me was, and in these last 3 months, the fact that like I haven't been sucked back into that addiction, and the sun just came out again, very bright. So I apologize. My shirt is too white, but anyways, what's helped me is kind of identifying this compulsion tendency in my mind as different from an addiction like bondage, an addiction position in my mind. So I have general anxiety disorder, right? Anxiety is the underlying theme of my life for much of my 28 years, as long as I can remember. And the way that, my body, my mind has coped with, has tried to survive, I guess, in response to that anxiety, has been to act out of compulsion in manners or in habits that seem like addiction. And, you can call that addiction. I don't know. But to me, it helps to see that as compulsion. Sorry, I had to mess around with that light there. Get too bright. But for me, understanding that much of my, the way that I dealt with anxiety and like seasonal depression was through compulsion, really helped me to understand that I'm not, in a sense, trapped or doomed or enslaved to an addiction, but rather it's just a disorder that sucks big time, but can be beat. And so I was prescribed Lexapro, and as we shared in my previous videos, it's been a journey. It's been a really cool and lucky experience. But what Lexapro has done for me has really turned down the noise of anxiety, turned down the effects of anxiety, and made them more manageable, right? Like, that's the term that you'll read often. People who are taking Lexapro will say, like, I still get anxious, I still have anxiety, but but it's manageable. It's like, it's like now you're normal enough to finally handle it like a healthy person. So so it's like in these past 3 months I haven't been like, I've been good, I've been healthy, I haven't been like chained to what I thought I was addicted to. And whether you just think that's good luck or whether you think that's the result of I don't know, sheer will and medication, I'll leave that up to you to decide. But the point is being able to manage my own thoughts, being able to feel life differently, because that's the best way I can describe life right now, is like feeling in color. That's a phrase that's just come up so many times in conversations with people. For me, it's the best image I have in my head to describe life right now, is feeling in color. If my whole life I'm a very logic-oriented person, I've always been like cynical sometimes, to a fault, and just really logical and I don't know, what would you call it? Like, just people would say, like, I'm just, I just want to be real, I don't want to get my hopes up for things. Anxiety obviously heightened all that, made it worse, whether you're overly hopeful or you're overly just cynical and about doom and gloom. That's kind of like what the anxiety does. But Lexapro has helped balance those things out and helped me to live more in reality, right? Like, that's like such a weird thing to say, as if those who have anxiety or depression or any sort of mental illness don't live in reality. But I feel and I believe that I've just perceived reality differently, and that's like nothing to be ashamed of. And there's a silver lining to all that, and that's that this has been studied before, and that there's a reason why we have sciences in the field of psychology and all of those sorts of things to help people like me, to help people maybe like you who are feeling this, who are struggling with this, who are really just struggling to make it day by day. Struggling to make it day by day, to feel like you are sane or normal, or like there's any hope left for you. So if I could share anything with you in this video, it's that, hey man, or hey dude, there's help out there. There's medication, whether Lexapro works for you or not. There's different medications, there's therapy, there's all sorts of help that you can seek. And I know money is a thing, right? I talked about this in my last video. Money is an issue for me, man. I'm like barely making it sometimes, but it's just about prioritizing things. And you know, we can get into things that stop us from moving into that, like stigmas and cultural biases and things of that sort, which, I mean, I can't cover all in one single video, and I don't even know if that's worth covering. There are much more smarter people than me talking about mental health, but I know that I can share my experience. I'm not the best person in the world. I'm so far from being anybody worthy of being listened to, but I do still have an overwhelming sense of desire to help people. You know, however best I can help people, and right now this is the only way I know how, just by talking, just by sharing my experience about mental health, about anxiety, about panic and depression, and specifically Lexapro and therapy in relation to my life. So, you know, if you feel if you've related to this in any way, really appreciate it if you like that video or commented, let me know. You know what resonates with you, let me know where you're at. And it's been really cool. I mean, I honestly did not expect anyone to watch the previous videos and or let alone comment. So for those of you who have left a comment or two, really appreciate it, guys. And I really resonate, empathize with your journeys and your struggles, because I feel them. I feel something to the degree of what you're feeling. So hang in there, stand strong, y'all, and keep your head up. You know, I think that's the cool thing in the age that we live in. There's an ever-growing community of, you know, these people who are pushing back against mental health stigma, and you know, those of us who feel like really alone in this, or really just don't have the immediate support group. You know, there's the wonderful invention of the internet. So yeah, so thank you for watching, and I will be posting more of the occasional video of this sort of type, just whenever I'm learning or thinking. But yeah, see you soon.